Hey guys, and welcome back to another Mystery Bit video right here on TetraBitGaming. So Halloween is almost here, and seeing as how it's been a few months since my last Mystery Bit video, I thought this month would be the perfect chance to bring them back. And seeing as how it's almost Halloween, and since a few of you have been asking, if this first video does well, I will be exploring a creepier gaming mystery or reading a video game creepypasta every week until Halloween, in addition to my other planned videos. For this first spooky video, I will be playing and reading through one of my favorite Pokemon creepypastas, Pokemon Lost Silver, a story about a guy who in 2009 apparently found a cursed Pokemon game. And as always guys, if at any point you do enjoy this video and want to see more like it, please be sure to slap a like down below. It seriously helps me out a lot. And with that being said, put on some headphones and dim those lights. It's time to explore the mystery of Pokemon Lost Silver. I am a simple college student living alone in an apartment. I was very enthusiastic about the release of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver here in the States. I've purposely locked myself out of all media and the internet aside for school purposes. That means no 4chan, no Reddit, and no YouTube. As I was pretty busy with the school year and being poor at the time, I wasn't able to buy Soul Silver on its launch. After my school year was done though, I ordered Soul Silver on Amazon. However, it was going to take a week for it to arrive. I decided that during that time, I could replay my Crystal version on my Game Boy Color. However, I realized that long ago my mom threw it away, because I told her the save went dead, and I was very upset about it then. She also threw away my Silver version, so all I have left is my Game Boy Color. As such, I set out to GameStop and bought a used copy of Pokemon Silver, as it was the only Pokemon game left that they had for the Game Boy Color. $10, so it was fairly cheap. I then went home and started up the game for a nostalgia trip. However, that's where things started getting a little bit bizarre. The Game Freak logo started up as normal, but then it just froze. At first I thought the cart was just having an error or something, so I turned it off and then back on. The same thing happened. I tried pressing A and start over and over, and then all of the other buttons. Eventually, the logo vanished, and there was a black screen for about 5 seconds. Suddenly, rather than going to the usual menu screen, I was already in the game, in a previously saved file. Which was weird, as I was expecting all these cards to have been wiped when they were traded into GameStop. Either way, I wasn't complaining, as I would have chosen the continue option to see what the previous guy did anyway. First off, I checked his trainer information. His name was just ... I could also see that he had put 999 hours and 99 minutes into the game, with all 16 badges completed, 99,999.9 Pokédollars, and all 251 Pokemon on the Pokédex. Judging by these stats and the fact that he had caught Mew and Celebi, I'm guessing he probably used a Game Genie or Action Replay to get them. I was then curious to see what Pokemon he had in his party. To my surprise, I saw 5 unknowns and a 6th Pokemon named Hurry. I was thinking that this must have been some cruel joke by the person who played this game last, but I decided to check the profiles of these Pokemon anyway. As expected, they were different letters of unknown, all level 5. I was a little bit shaky with my unknown alphabet at the time, but I identified the word spelled out to be leave. As for the 6th Pokemon, it turned out to be a Cyndaquil. The Cyndaquil looked normal, but it was level 5 with only 1 HP left and only 2 attacks, Leer and Flash. I don't know why someone would name a Pokemon Hurry, but at the time I just ignored it. But the most eerie thing was that despite my volume being cranked to the max, none of the Pokemon he had their usual cries. Just pure silence. Having enough of the team, I closed it. I was parked at what appeared to be a room inside Bellsprout Tower. However, for some reason there were no NPCs around. Even creepier was that the pillar in the middle didn't move at all, as if just leaning on its side. And again, there was no music at all, and there was no exit or ladder, or at least I thought there wasn't. I walked around for a few minutes, but couldn't seem to find a way out. This was certainly not a room I've seen in the Bellsprout Tower before. I tried checking my items for an escape rope, but the bag was completely empty. There weren't any wild Pokemon here either. Finally, I managed to find a ladder, which turned out to be behind the pillar. The screen just turned black, and the music finally started playing. I had a sudden chill crawl down my back as I recognized that melody I heard to be the theme you hear when you listen to the radio at the Alph Ruins where you find the unknowns in the game. I then realized that it wasn't a loading transition, but rather I was in a dark room and would need to use flash in order to see. But before I took care of that, I immediately checked my Pokegear to change the radio to something more pleasant. But it turns out that there was no radio card, or even a phone or time cards. There was only a map card in which the player was just walking in the midst of a sea of black. I recalled that Cyndaquil had flash, so I turned off my Pokegear and made Cyndaquil use flash. The room just lit up, and then I soon regretted it. What I saw was a chilling blood-red room with a linear gray path heading south. The ladder that I had just used was no longer there. I had no choice but to head south. The screen got darker every 20 steps I took until finally I made it to the end. At the end, there was a big sign. I read the sign, which said, "Turn back now." Suddenly, I was asked to answer yes or no. I chose yes as I didn't really know what it was asking. Suddenly it said, "Hurry has fainted," which was odd since I recall that there was no status conditions like poison on him, and I clearly wasn't in a battle. I checked my Pokemon quickly, and suddenly, the Cyndaquil was no longer in my party. In fact, none of the original Pokemon were there, but they were instead replaced with level 10 unknowns. And I did the same thing I did before. I wanted to see if they spelled anything. This time, the unknown spelled out, "He died." Either way, after that creepy change, the room was still lit to reveal myself in a very small room that appeared to be only 4 squares big. Outside the small room, there appeared to be a bunch of graves similar to the ones seen in Pokemon Red and Blue. I walked around that small room and pressed A, but nothing happened. At this point, I've already concluded that this was a hacked game and some sadistic pleb sold it to GameStop. However, my curiosity kept me going. I checked the trainer profile again. This time, the sprite of the player was missing his arms. He also appeared to seem less smug than he normally does, but this time, he was sad, and looked empty in a way that I don't know how to describe. It also said that he had 24 badges, which was clearly impossible. Then, after a few minutes of aimless wandering, my character suddenly started spinning like he used an escape rope. But instead of flying up though, the character spun downward instead, as if he was sinking. After finally landing, the overworld sprite of the character was now differently colored. Instead of the usual red color, he now appeared completely white, including his skin. I decided to check the character profile again, and now it appeared white just like the overworld sprite. But this time, he also lost his legs, and he appeared to have blood coming out of his eyes. It also said that he has 32 badges. This now started to disturb me, as this change of number seemed to represent something more important. I also checked the Pokemon one more time, this time containing 5 unknowns and 1 level 100 Celebi, without a nickname. This time, all level 15, the unknown spelt out, "Dying." I then checked Celebi's profile. It was a shiny Celebi, except there's only half of the sprite. 1 leg, 1 arm, and 1 eye. It also only had 1 attack, Perish Song. The area I was in itself was again the Sprout Tower, with the immobile pillar as before, except everything was now red. I then kept walking north for what felt like forever. Eventually I finally encountered some NPCs. They were all lined up to the side, just facing the long slantish pillar in the middle. These NPCs were also all completely white, and nothing really happened when I tried to speak to them. I kept on walking north until eventually the pillar finally appeared chopped off, with a transparent red in that spot. I then approached red, and without even pressing A, I was suddenly in a battle. The music started up again, and it sounded like the unknown radio music, but this time being played backwards. My character's back sprite matched the one from the trainer info, with bloody eyes, white skin, and lack of arms. Red sprite, however, was the same as before, except more transparent. The text simply said, "Blank wants to battle," as if he had no name. And both of us only had one Pokemon each, which is weird as I swore I just counted 5 plus the Celebi. My shiny Celebi came out, conveniently with half a sprite for the back sprite too. Red had sent out a seemingly normal male Pikachu, except his was level 255 and his sprite seemed sad, and it looked like he had tears in his eyes. Rather than the usual fight, item, Pokemon, and run menu, I was only given the option to use attacks. Since Celebi only had the one, I chose it. Naturally, since Pikachu was level 255, he went first. Pikachu used Curse, lowering his speed and increasing his other stats. I'm not even sure if Pikachu can learn Curse. Celebi used Perish Song. In 3 turns, both Pokemon get knocked out. Not like I had a choice. At this point, it didn't even go back to the fight menu, as the battle just continued pretty much without my input. It was also weird to note that there were no animations for either Pokemon for some reason. Pikachu used Frustration, which did a lot of damage, knocking Celebi down to less than 10 HP. Celebi used Pain Split, which surprised me as Celebi didn't even have that attack in the first place. Now Celebi and Pikachu have about 150 health points each. Pikachu used Mean Look. Not like it did anything. As expected, due to the effects of Perish Song, my Celebi had fainted. Except in the text, it said, Celebi had died. And instead of the ordinary drop-off screen animation, the Celebi back sprite just vanished. For some reason, the Pikachu was still up, even with Perish Song being used. And it didn't count as a loss. Pikachu used one more different attack beyond the 5 attack limit. Pikachu used Destiny Bond. Then it said, Pikachu has died, with a slow fade out animation. And apparently I was the winner, as the transparent red sprite showed up and said, nothing. At this point, I just freaked out, as that transparent red sprite was suddenly beheaded, leaving nothing but his transparent body. At that point, the battle had ended and faded out along with the music. I was back in the overworld, along with another change to my sprite. He was now transparent, just like Red was. I quickly checked his profile, where this time the only thing that remained of him was his head with a transparent skin. The head was also zoomed in a bit, showing a black void in his eyes. It also now stated that he had 40 badges. I then backed out and checked my Pokemon. This time they were all level 20 shiny unknowns, which spelt out, no more. I was back in the room at New Bark Town. Maybe finally I get to play this game normally. But who was I kidding? I walked around the room and tried to interact with everything. As expected, the radio, computer, and TV did not work, so I had no choice but to go down the stairs. I ended up in the same lower level room of my house. Everything appeared normal, except the character's mom wasn't home. Then after failing to interact with anything in this room, I decided to go outside. To my surprise, the door leading outside at the south didn't work either, so instead I just walked straight through it into a void. I continued moving south to see what was going on. My house had vanished as I kept heading south and south. Eventually I reached a white area, and Gold Sprite turned black and transparent again. I continued south without thinking of stopping at all. I finally encountered something. It was my character's regular sprite. I talked to it. He said, "Goodbye, forever," and vanished. As that happened, it said, question mark, question mark, question mark, used Nightmare. My character did another escape rope animation and spun slowly downward, just like before. And again I was back into that small hollowed out room surrounded by graves. Or at least I say I was back there, but there was no sprite anymore. I tried to walk around but nothing moved, not even the wall bumping noise. I checked my trainer profile with absolutely no sprite left, and it said that I had 0 badges, and all the pictures of the Johto gym leaders at the bottom were replaced with skulls. I checked my Pokemon, which were all level 25 unknowns, and this time, as expected, it spelt out another phrase. This time it spelt, "I'm dead." It was then that I figured out exactly what this room was, when the final text came up saying, R.I.P. Then, without any warning, the game automatically shut off. And there you have it, guys, the tale of Pokemon Lost Silver. What do you guys think? Do you think something like this could ever happen? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you like this video, guys, check out my other spooky-ish videos over on my channel, and hopefully I'll have more in the coming weeks. And if you guys want to stay even more up to date with me and this channel, be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch as well. Links to all of those will be in the description below. And as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching today and for all of your amazing support, and I will see you in a bit.